Welcome to another edition of the Red Zone podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Point du jour, and on today's episode, I will be previewing and predicting all four games of week one, which starts tomorrow. Very, very exciting. The CFL is finally back. So, without further ado, we got four games to break down. So, let's get right into it. Our first game sees the Saskatchewan Roughriders at home facing the Ottawa Redblacks on Thursday Night Football, and I see this being a defensive battle, at least for our first game of the year. Both of these defenses really, really good, and they're bringing back a lot of their pieces from 2024. Saskatchewan even adding Mike Rose to that defensive line. Ottawa, we've talked about their defensive line. It is really good with Lorenzo Malden, with Bryce Carter. So the trenches, I mean, that's going to be big time in this game. And speaking about the defensive lines, both teams ranked in the top three against the run. Ottawa was third, Saskatchewan was first. So if one of William Stanback for Ottawa or AJ Ouellette from Saskatchewan have a big day, it definitely could be a deciding factor. Ottawa's defensive line in Lorenzo Malden and Michael Wakefield were both tied for the league lead in sacks in 2024. Can they get to Trevor Harris? Can they force Saskatchewan to make some mistakes, to throw some interceptions? It will be easier said than done for the Ottawa defense because this Saskatchewan team in 2024 turned the ball over the least. So if Ottawa finds a way to force a turnover on Saskatchewan, that could be massive because Saskatchewan ball security is key for them and they don't just give it away. On the opposite side, Ottawa turns the ball over the most in 2024, and Saskatchewan was first in takeaways. So you kind of get where I'm going with this. Saskatchewan may get a turnover or two, and that could change the entire ball game and maybe get the offenses going. But I'm predicting more of a punt fest for the first half. Maybe second half it gets going a little bit. So my prediction, I think Saskatchewan will force Ottawa into some bad decisions or two. Scoring, it could be at a premium, but I think at Mosaic Stadium, with that crowd behind them, they'll score enough and win this game. They want to make a statement in 2025. They want to get to that Grey Cup, and I think it starts off well. So I'm going with Saskatchewan winning this game 23-16, and the Rough Riders get their first win of 2025. Let's go to the Friday night football game. We have the Toronto Argonauts at the Montreal Alouettes. 2024 Grey Cup MVP Nick Arbuckle is likely to get the start for the Argos in week one. And today there was news that Chad Kelly he's ruled out for week one. So it'll definitely be Nick Arbuckle. He is going up against the new franchise QB in Montreal and my pick for most outstanding player in Davis Alexander. Yeah, you heard me. I said it yesterday. I didn't just change my mind. Okay. I'm still rolling with Alexander as my MOP pick. Let's get to the running backs, and it'll be interesting of who starts for both of these teams after the cuts a couple days ago, which saw the release of Kadeem Carey and Walter Fletcher for Montreal. So both of these running back positions up in the air of who starts. So that's going to be really interesting to watch out for. I think the key of this game is going to be how the Montreal offense can move against this Toronto defensive line. Well, and the secondary, but the defensive line, if they can't get pressure, I like Davis Alexander in this one because he's got Austin Mack, he's got Tyson Philpott. I'm pretty sure they're going to be starting in week one. And I just like the way they can possibly move the ball on this Argos defense and score points. So with that said, I'm going with the Montreal Alouettes to win this game Toronto just has a ton of questions that I need to see get answered first, especially on the defensive side of that ball with the defensive line. Can they get pressure and can they stop the run? Maybe Montreal goes to the run early. They've been more a passing team in the last couple seasons. Maybe that's a adjustment that they do during the game or for the game, knowing that's a whole new D line. But we'll see. But I got the Montreal Alouettes coming out victorious, 27-17. Moving right along to the Saturday doubleheader. The first game of the doubleheader is the Hamilton Tiger Cats facing the Calgary Stampeders at McMahon Stadium, and it is a quarterback duel for Hamilton. You got Bo Levi Mitchell. For the Calgary Stampeders, you got newly acquired Vernon Adams Jr. It should be an offensive showdown, not to mention the weapons that were brought in for both of these quarterbacks. For Hamilton, you have Kenny Lawler, who got paid and has produced over the last couple years, even though the games played may not have been there. But when he plays, he produces. And then also Drew Wolotarski. So two wide receivers coming from Winnipeg. And then for Calgary, they brought in Dominic Grimes, who had great chemistry with VA in BC. You had Tevin Jones, who killed the Stampeders during Labor Day last year. And then Damian Alford, who was the first overall pick in the CFL draft. So a lot of weapons for both of these teams to go alongside their, MOP level quarterbacks. And as I said, this should be an offensive showdown. But I don't think it's going to be with the passing game. I think both of these teams are going to try to run the ball early. Yes, I said it. With both of these defenses having major questions. I mean, Hamilton, they brought in some pieces like Reggie Stubblefield. They brought back Julian Hauser. So they got pieces on that defense. And Calgary, you have Derek Moncrief in that linebacker position. Linebacker is kind of a question mark, Gary Johnson Jr. Defensive line, Falarin or Malade. But who else is going to be starting alongside him? There is also new defensive coordinators for both teams. For Hamilton, they hired former Calgary Stampeder defensive coordinator in Brett Monson. And then Calgary promoted from within. They have Bob Slowick running their defense. So my biggest question will be which defense is going to step up and get stops, because we know what both of these quarterbacks can do when they are on and just scoring touchdowns. Or will this just be, a game that ends in the 40s or whatever? I don't think so. I think the defense can get stops, but we'll just have to wait and see. So with all that said, I'm going to go with the Calgary Stampeders getting a victory at home, 31-26. I think this will be a high-scoring affair, and I think has the potential to end or be decided in the last 3 minutes like a lot of games were in 2024. And finally, the last game on the week 1 slate brings us to BC Place as the Lions face the Edmonton Elks. And before the game, Snoop Dogg, D-O-double-G, is performing for the concert kickoff. BC has it every year, and 50,000 tickets sold. So it is going to be loud there for the concert and possibly for the game. For the BC Lions, we're going to see how that offense works with Buck Pierce as the head coach, probably, calling the plays, and Nathan Rourke bouncing back in 2025. After a rough 2024, at least when he came back, he's trying to bounce back. And you have the receivers to, go crazy. I mean, Justin McInnes, Keon Hatcher, Javon Catoy, and then in the backfield, you have James Butler. And as I said, James Butler may have a bigger role and be a key to this offense with the run game, knowing how much success Buck Pierce had with Brady Oliveira. And then for Edmonton's side, a revamped defense that should be elite. I mean, they should be near the top of the league in sacks next year with all the defensive linemen that they got from Toronto and that they paid for. So that should be a really good defense. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I see that running game taking effect early. Trey Ford can use his legs, and then in the backfield, you have Javon Leake, you have Justin Rankin, who had really good years last year, and that was their identity, was running the football. And I see no difference early in this season. So my prediction here, I think Nathan Rourke and that offense is going to start off hot. I think they're going to be on fire to start the game, passing the ball, running the ball, getting touchdowns, getting scores. Nathan Rourke loves playing against the Edmonton Elks. Just go look at some of his numbers that he put up in 2022 against Edmonton. They are ridiculous, and I see no difference. I think he bounces back. He has something to prove against the Elks, who might take some time to gel. I mean, they have a new head coach, they have a new offensive coordinator, a whole new defense, an offense that same quarterback, but he didn't start the full year last year, so they're gonna heavily rely on that running game, as I said. So I think BC will come out early and make a statement here in week one, winning this game in a high scoring one for BC, 37-23. So I do think Edmonton does score points here, but BC's offense will just be a little too much to handle for the Edmonton defense. So those are my predictions for week one. Let me know your thoughts and your predictions for the 4 games happening this weekend. And we will be right back here to do tiers and to recap the Calgary Stampeders game and maybe some mini recaps of the others and then predictions for week 2. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you next week. Peace.